Moving on to the problems on the second page of our Venn diagram contingency table practice, we're given another pie chart and then asked to basically build a Venn diagram off of that pie chart. So in this pie chart, we're asked about movie genre preferences, and we have rom-com, action, and horror were the sort of three selections. So one thing you could do before you even start on anything else is you could label the circles. I'm just going to use initials. So R is going to be for rom-com, and H will be for horror, and A will be for action movies. Since all three terms start with different letters, it's okay to use abbreviations here. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go through my pie chart and figure out how many people belong in each category, and then use that to then build my Venn diagram. So here I'm told that 21.1% of my 38 respondents said they liked action movies only. And so in this case, I would have 0.211 of 38. And when I multiply out those numbers, I get 8. Okay, 8. Now, a little bit of looking around here, I noticed that I got a 10.5 here, and I also have a 10.5 over here. So I can calculate that percent once, and I get the numbers for both of those sections. So 0.105 of 38 comes out to be 4. And so we also have 4 over here. I got my 13.2 and my 13.2. So 0.132 of 38 comes out at 5. And so this would also be 5. We're just sort of going to keep sort of filling stuff in. So 2.6%. Notice we got multiple 2.6% as well. So 0.026 of 38 means that was just one student. So we got one student, like rom-com and action only. And I could calculate the 26.3% or do a little bit of math. So 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 1 is 6, plus 5 is 11, 16, 20, 28, which means there are 10 students left in that final group. All right, so let's fill in our Venn diagram then. And in this particular case, we can sort of see exactly what they picked. So, for example, the one none would be on the outside here. I'm going to change colors here just because I don't want to mix up with my title. So I have one none on the outside, so I've done that number. Notice I'm sort of checking off as I go. Rom-com, action, and horror are the 10 people who picked all three. They just like movies. Then what this means, they actually just picked horror. So these are horror-only people. That would be a 4 out here. Rom-com and action, but didn't pick horror. So rom-com and action didn't pick horror was the 1. Action and horror would get a 5 over here. And I'm sort of, action by itself was 8. Rom-com by itself was also 4. And rom-com and horror, an interesting combo, was 5. So I have my Venn diagram filled in, and then I'm just asked to pick out numbers of students. So we're going to switch to highlighter mode so we can highlight what we see. So how many students liked rom-coms? So it's going to be more than the 4 up there, because keep in mind it's everyone inside that rom-com circle. And so if we add up 4, 5, 1, and 10, 4 plus 5 is 9, plus 1 is 10, plus another 10 is 20 students. All right, so we got that one. And then next up is people who liked action and horror. Sorry about that. So action and horror is the overlap between our A and H circles, which would be that right there. So notice it's the 10 and the 5, so for a total of 15. Versus when we do or should be everyone in the action circle and everyone in the horror circle, which would, take that 15 plus 9 plus another 9. So we end up with 33 students. So the follow-up question was then, okay, looking at this Venn diagram, if I were to pick a genre of movie to show in class, which one would probably be the best based off of students' preferences? I would argue, if I were to make this argument, I would say a horror movie. And I would say that because if I look at my circles, within the horror movie circle, I have 24. Well, I guess I also have 24 in the action circle too. So I would say horror movie or action movie. Maybe a horror action. Because both of those options had 24 people pick it, while only 20 people picked romantic comedy. So since 24 students picked those genres more, which is, I should, more than the 20 who selected rom-com. And we could argue that showing a horror movie in school is not appropriate, but based purely off the data, that would be my conclusion. All right, moving on to number 6. So number 6 here, we're going to do a little backwards. We've taken two-way tables in class and turned them into Venn diagrams. We're now going the other way. So I've given you a Venn diagram and I'm asking for you to come up with the two-way table. So we have people who drink tea and people who drink coffee. So the middle here would be people who drink both, like your teacher. I drink both tea and coffee. I drink tea in the evenings and lots of coffee in the morning. Some of you know that because you see me bright and early in the morning and you realize that I am consuming lots of coffee all day long. So 5 people consume both tea and coffee. 12 of these people consume coffee but not tea. So that would be the drinks coffee row. So actually I'm going to sort of highlight this in yellow. And then this is that row right here in my data. So 5 is in the overlap, 12 is sort of the free there. Okay, and then if I sort of change, I'm going to change colors to green. Tea is going to be green, and so the drinks tea is sort of those numbers right there. So the 15 people who drink tea but not coffee sort of go off to the side there. And then I can total my column there because I got 20 people here. And then I have 17 over here. And then these 3 people on the outside don't drink tea and they don't drink coffee. So I get sort of a 3. So 15 and 20 plus 15 is 35. And this is 18. And I'd always like to double check. 17 plus 18 is also 35. So check, I filled in my two-way table correctly. All right, one last problem. So we're building a Venn diagram here. And to make matters a little more complicated, everything's sort of in a giant paragraph instead of bullet pointed. Life is so much nicer when they're in bullet points, but that's not always how data works. So we got to pick apart what we see here and create our Venn diagram. So we have a survey of people in a machine shop, and we got 44 employees who can run a lathe, 49 who run the milling machine, and 56 who operate the punch press. So I'm going to have L, M, and P. L, M, and P. All right. I'm going to sort of dive in here and look, and I want to look for the overlap or the outside numbers. Those are good ones to start with. So if I notice, and I'm sort of working backwards, 9 employees cannot operate any of these machines. So 9 employees can't do any of this. So there's a 9 on the outside. So we're going to cross off that 9. We've dealt with that. Scribble it out. 10 employees can operate all 3 machines. So that would be the 10 in the middle. We've dealt with that. Cross it off. 24 employees can run a lathe and operate a punch press. So that's going to be sort of this middle shared area. And we already have 10 in the middle. And if there's a total of 24, 24 minus 10 would get me 14 in that extra sort of leftover space there. So I'm going to fill in a 14 here. Oops, 14. And we've dealt with those 24 who can do both. The next one, 19, run a milling machine and a punch press. So that would be, just like before, I'm going to switch to yellow though because it's a little easier to see. That overlap. But we already have 10, so that leaves 9 of those 19. And then obviously the last overlap, 27, but we already have 10, so that puts 17 in the last overlap. Which now we just sort of need to then make totals. So we got, so let's cross off what we've done. I always like crossing off as I go. 44 employees can run a lathe. So if I'm thinking about that, 44 total, and oops, I don't want a plus there, equals, the 10, because we're looking everywhere in this circle. So we have the 10 plus the 14 plus the 17 plus some unknown number will get us our sort of leftover. And so 10 plus 14 is 24. Plus 17 is 41, which means there are 3 left over. So there should be 3 on the outside there. All right, next one. I'm going to fix that while I'm in there. It'd be, okay, so we did the lathe. So then 49 run the milling machine. So 49 equals, and we have 17 plus 10 plus 9 plus some unknown. 27 plus 9 is 36. 4 plus 9 is 13 left over there. So we got 13 here. And then last but not least would be the 56 who can do the punch press. 56. And then to add up to that would be 14 plus 10 plus 9 plus our some unknowns. That's 24 plus 9 is 33. To get to 56 would be 23. Determine the number of people employed at the machine shop. We then just need to add all our values together. So like 3 plus 17 plus 13 plus 14 plus 10 plus 9 plus 23. And don't forget the 9 who can't run any of those machines. And you would get a total of 98 employees. So hopefully watching me sort of walk through some of these questions helped you. Don't forget to go back and correct, fix, star, give yourself a good job pat on the back and a different color pen. Fixing our mistakes is so important. Mistakes are what help us learn. So we want to realize when we make them and understand what we did wrong. And then there's some reflection questions. The reflection questions give you a chance to not only ask me questions if you're still struggling with stuff, or let me know sort of what, I really realized something when I did X, Y, and Z. I will see you all in class next week.